Jimmy Davis. Dave Manella. Dale Mackey. Ron Randolph. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. As a matter of public announcements, please silence your phones, put them on vibrate, and turn your pagers off. Appeals, to my right on the railing down here, there are appeal cards. If you disagree with the decision the commission comes up with, you're welcome to fill out an appeal card, give it to staff, and appeal it to the council. Speaker cards, to my right again. If you wish to speak on a case, please fill out one of the speaker cards and turn it into one of the staff. Each case, if you wish to speak, we have 10 minutes on each side with a 5-minute rebuttal. And if you want to talk about the case after it's heard and dispensed with, please exit the building. Don't go out in the foyer because all the sound does echo back into here. Mr. Randolph, will you lead us an invocation?
Gracious Father, we once again want to thank you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives, watching over us this day, protecting us, leading and guiding us. Thank you for the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you graced us with to be on this commission. We thank you for these commissioners, Lord, and allow us to make decisions that's in the best interest of this parish, the public, as well as our council. And all these blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name.
Amen. Mr. Davis, pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In your packets, there was the January 8th minute meetings. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review them. Are there any corrections that need to be made? Dale?
Mr. Chairman, I went through it and I didn't pick up anything that was really notable. I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please vote. Motion carries. Consent calendar. Any item not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically dispensed by vote as approved or as staff comments. Items pulled from the consent calendar shall be discussed and voted upon individually. Mr. Ron, you got anything that needs to be pulled?
No, sir.
Okay. Any of the commissioners have anything on the performance obligations that need to be pulled on the consent calendar, right? Mr. Matthews.
I've read the consent calendar. I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as written. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. We have no petitions or requests, no entering the Tammany trace, no revocations or closings, no re-subdivision review, dormant subdivision review, we don't have any, and tentative subdivision review, we don't have any. We have a subdivision review. SD 05-08-019P, Hidden Creek, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, Hidden Creek LLC. The engineer is Meyer Engineers Limited. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Marty Dean. This was tabled at the January 8th meeting. Staff?
Yes, sir. The developer still has some engineering items outstanding, so they requested to be tabled again until the March meeting.
Okay. The developer is requesting that this be postponed until the March meeting. Is that what they're asking? Yes, sir. So I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
We have
Second.
a motion and a second to postpone until the March meeting. Please vote. Motion carries. Final subdivision review, there's none. Proposed ordinance amendments, proposed amendments to ordinance 499, there's not any. Old business, we have none. New business, a couple of the commissioners have asked to discuss letters that we get on appeals. It seems to be just another piece of paper that hits the it can, and it's not necessary to send that out to the commissioners. Mr. Matthews?
Yeah, we get that every month. I know for the zoning, I'm not sure about the planning, but when we get a letter, it says that which items are going to be appealed. There's really not much we can do about it. Really not supposed to go to the council and talk about it, since it would be a commission voice, and our chairman is the only one that's really authorized to do that. So it's a waste of time, effort, and postage, and somebody's the money. I don't see any reason to do it, but Helen has said that somebody had, in the past, had requested it, and it was a official request from the commission, so the commission officially has to request that they not do it. So I would move that we no longer get those letters on the items that are going to be appealed to the council.
We have a motion and a second on the letters, on appeals, on zoning, since Ron said.
And planning. Although we don't do it in planning as a general rule, but, you know, yeah, I'd say zoning and planning, just to
Okay.
go ahead and do a
Yeah.
resolution.
No letters on appeals, on planning and zoning gets mailed to the commissioners. We have a motion and a second, please vote.
I have a question.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Martha.
on that. Yes, I think we started this because of the fact that things would come back and we didn't know they went to appeal. And we were surprised that they came up. It was a way of informing us that, you know, it wasn't ended with the resolution that there was an appeal to it. If anything, I would like to have notification of the results of the appeal. No, well, that's what I'm saying. It seems that they let us know that this is on appeal, but we don't know the results of it. And sometimes, several cases have come up, I'm going, I thought we voted against or for that, and we wasn't aware of it, in that it had went to appeal. It's just a matter of us following through if it's because some things do come back to us. They do send it back to us, and it was so if anything, I don't know if there is something on appeal, that maybe one letter to see what that was the results of the council's vote on the appeal for or against.
The notice of appeal doesn't give us any information. And, you know,
Right,
we
exactly.
almost can tell when a guy walks over there and picks up one of those appeal cards, we're pretty damn sure
Right,
that's gonna happen. But, to find out what has occurred, that would give you some information. Of course, you can get that by watching the council meetings too.
True, but if we don't know that it's coming up, I guess is what I'm saying, for that council meeting, why would I watch it if it, if I know someone,
watch
if
all
it's
of
in
them.
case and stuff? Well,
I bet you do.
You don't watch all of them?
only, I do, yeah, some of them, it's only if you have the Channel 10 access, if you had,
You
Cox
can watch it
doesn't
on your
do it.
computer.
You have charter.
You can watch it on your computer.
Yeah, but that was the reason why we had things that were coming back to us and we had no clue if the process had not been completed and stuff. So the appeal letter just lets us know that it's still alive, so.
So, did you want to do not receive the notice of the appeal, but receive the results of the appeal?
If that's feasible, I'd ask that the staff look into that and see how feasible that is, and if it is, then that does give us something that we know that it's been
Okay.
approved or disapproved
Yeah,
or
right,
whatever. That does
where
give
it
us some.
left off
Yeah.
from
Chairman?
us. Where did it go from us?
That
Mr.
gives
Chairman, a
us
point
some
of
useful
order,
information.
Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
Mr. Manel?
We have a motion and a second specifically to stop receiving a letter. That's the only thing we can debate right now. Upon whatever that will be, then if there is another motion, we can make it.
Can we amend it? Can it be amended?
It would have to be withdrawn
Well,
because it's a totally different motion. So we can, but what Commissioner Matthews put up is a motion to stop that particular request. Now, if we want a subsequent motion to get a different piece of information, then I would recommend we make that motion.
call the question on the motion that's on the floor.
Correct.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and the question's been called. Please vote on the motion that's on the floor to stop the letters. Motion the vote is 7-2. Motion carries. Now, Martha, would you like to make another motion to receive the results of all appeals?
Yes, Ron, would you say we would direct that to the council or to the staff?
No, you can just, we'll
That-
take care
that
of it.
we
Just do it-
request-
Just do it in the form of a resolution and
Okay,
we'll-
in the
and
form
we'll
of a
accept that.
resolution that in the event of an appeal on a case, that we would have notification of the results from the council of the appeal.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Bill?
Wait, Jimmy just said something that made me.
Just to be square on this, does this now mean that if the case is appealed and it's not overturned, we're not gonna hear about it either, correct? We're only gonna hear about the cases that are appealed and overturned. Is that
To the
correct?
council, to the council.
Okay,
Appeal to the council and overturn.
That's
and
correct.
overturned. Thank you.
If it's appealed to the council, and whatever direction we
Right.
went with it, they sustained,
Right.
is that?
Did they agree with us or
Is it-
not agree with us?
Well, you want, okay.
I want to know where it goes from there, because, like I said, we have been hit with cases that we thought they were over, and the council sent them back to us, or I've had people I have assumed that it ended with our decision, because, and I think that's what happened, is that we were notified, we have a formal appeal to the council, because somebody in the public comes up to you and says, the decision was made, and no, I do not look at all the council meetings and what was appealed. And it's just it's a matter of, I feel like we're still involved as far as the public
Thought this was gonna be a short
decision to know what the final result was.
Okay, but if the council upholds our
Right, that would be
motion,
fine.
then there's not any reason.
No, there's not a question
Okay, just
there.
the ones that are overturned. Now, is that your motion?
I guess so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Todd, you,
That's fine, that's that
Yeah.
motion.
Okay, not all of these come back to us. Very few of those come back to us. They
But it happens.
overturn it.
But it's also that you know what's going on in the
Don't disagree,
public,
that's fine.
too. That if they overturn it, that we know that it's been overturned.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. Any other new business?
Can we talk about getting these things? We get, at every meeting, the planning and zoning meeting, they reproduce the agenda and everything,
Sir?
several hundred pages every month.
Yep.
It seems like this is a gross waste of our tax money that I pay and you pay and we all pay. I would suggest that if there are changes made, since what we get in the mail is a draft and changes can be made, but if there are changes made, give us only the changes
Why don't you,
or the cases that are changed, and then we don't have to reproduce all of this.
why don't you, come
Yeah.
up with some kind of a written procedure, and let's deal with it at the next meeting. That way, we're all on the same page, and I certainly support what you're saying, but, let's just get it, in writing. That way, there's not any misunderstanding.
Okay, Ron? you have
And that's
some
fine if you want to put it in writing, but I understand what you're saying, and it does make sense. As long as the commission doesn't mind that if we do make some changes, that a packet that you get the night of the zoning meeting is still going to have the word draft on it on the front page. As long as you don't have any issues with that, I don't see a problem with that. I will still need to run it by Sidney, but I think he will probably agree too that that's
Well,
reasonable.
Ron, what I'm looking for is if, zoning case number 1234, you make a change in that zoning case, don't reproduce the whole thing.
I understand what you're saying.
Just reproduce the
And I
pages
agree
that you
with
make
you,
changes
and
on.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as long as the commission doesn't mind the draft words staying on their packet, and receiving any kind of supplements as far as changes to a case within that packet, that's fine, we can do that.
I think that's
I was gonna
stamped
run it
up
by
next.
Sidney to get his okey-dokey, but I think
Yeah.
that should be
Well,
okay.
I mean, if that's our request, then
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
what he needs to
Sure,
do.
okay.
Any other new business? I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Wait.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Wait.
Look at the
while we're asking, and remember now, some of us are fairly new on this side of the table. If you look at the draft copy, and that's what I'm looking at, if you look at, for instance, on performance obligations, Colonial Pinnacle is $1,140,000. And then you drop down to Wadsworth subdivision, it's $10,000. And the next one is $13,300. Well, if you look at some of the things, the verbiage that backs this up, that the developer is responsible for, any and everything, you can't even rent a backhoe for 2 hours and a driver for $10,000. You know,
Yeah,
I guess what I'm saying, is there any documentation that, just for our information, as to how these numbers are arrived at?
Yeah, like I said, I know, Puckett, you're relatively new to the commission, and yeah, that's been discussed in the past. The amounts are, for performance and warranty obligations are established by ordinance under the subdivision ordinance 499. And they were created many years ago, and today the costs are a lot more than what they were, but I think the council needs to, and they're working on that very issue to try to bring those more up to date as far as what the true costs for calling these letters of would be. And as far as the actual construction costs for doing this or that other thing, I know engineering does work up that, but I'm not sure if they come up with an actual cost of what it would cost. They just go by what the code says, which is, what, like $30 a linear foot for performance and something along those lines. It depends on certain circumstances. Yeah.
Things that aren't in the ordinance, we get,
Right.
give us a call.
But I know that Neil, Hall, and Terry have been working, the council have been working with the council on amending the
They just
ordinance to bring the cost more in line with
They
current
just look
today.
grossly
Yeah,
unfunded to me.
yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons they're working on that, because that's
But
very true.
we did have, questioned these numbers previous to you coming on to the commission, and that's the reason Terry and Neil are working on this with the council. When it was brought to their attention, they agreed that these numbers were grossly would be underfunded.
Pug, I've had the same discussion with a couple of councilmen, and we actually had a meeting with a couple of the larger developers in the area, and they agree that, at least these developers did, that these numbers are crazy and that they need to be revised. And Neil and Terry both were at one of these meetings, and they agreed that they would redraft the ordinance and try to come up with better numbers.
Okay,
And
just
hopefully they will.
And I wasn't aware that this was going on, and it just seems to me like it would be in a developer's interest, if these numbers were my penalty, to just walk away from every one of them.
Exactly. That's the problem.
You know, because it is no penalty.
We don't want them to walk away.
Now, how many developers have we called it on and have not completed?
Well, I've been with this commission for over about 20-some years,
Yeah.
and I think we've called maybe 3.
Three, that's
Yeah.
the point, is that, most of these are their reputations, and there's been mitigating circumstances, whether, changing hands, whatever. But that's what I was gonna say. I do not, even though they're grossly, that's why we were saying, if the parish had to do it, we couldn't.
Well, that's
So
one of the reasons that
that's-
you don't call them.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
But-
would say 10 times more, we probably would have called if the right numbers were there.
And that's all I'm saying, is we
Yeah.
need the right numbers.
Exactly.
If somebody's working on it, that's all I needed.
Todd?
I wanted to add that a lot of this has to do with the bonding capacity of the developers, and there's an insurance company involved here. Obviously, if the numbers are higher or to market value, it limits their bonding capacity. Not saying that that's a reason why they're depressed, but it is an issue. And quite frankly, if they have a bond called, that's a much bigger deterrent than the financial penalty, because they won't have bonding capacity in the future. So we haven't actually taken that position. Believe me, it's not a $10,000 issue or a $3,000 issue for these developers and contractors. It's a much bigger issue when it relates to future bonds. So.
To them, yes, it really is more important. I've had that problem once with the Pelican Park. But the problem is that if we have to take that step, we're reluctant to do it because we get $3,000 or $13,000. It's going to cost us $100,000 to do it. So we do everything we can not to do it. And there are cases that we probably should have done it and didn't because we realized the liability we were putting ourselves under. So I think it would be a better thing. We probably won't call it anymore, but at least we'd have the ability.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? One more time. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you.